Hello and welcome to this lesson about cancer. This is Mr. Singleton, the Associate Director for Outward Academy. And again, this is a specification for you to look at so you know what you have to recall and maybe apply in some situations. A lesson all about cancer. So these two types of cancers, tumours there, benign and malignant, and then some of the risk factors which can lead on to cancer. Here is your starter then. So what is the definition of health? We did that last lesson. And then match up the risk factors for each disease. So lung cancer, what is the risk factor for lung cancer? What is the risk factor for just general cancers? And then what are the risk factors for type 2 diabetes? I'll give you a minute to have a look through, see if you can match them up, draw them out in your book or write them out in your book if you've got your book with you. If not, just have a look at them, have a think about them and try and organise them. This is something that we did last lesson. Don't forget that definition at the top there, definition of health. 2 minutes, off you go. Okay, let's have a look at it. So health, remember there's two parts for health. It's the state of physical and mental well-being. So if you're looking for someone with good health, they must be have good physical well-being and good mental well-being. And these are the risk factors and the diseases matched up. So lung cancer, the risk factor for lung cancer is smoking. So the more you smoke, the more likely you are to get lung cancer. Carcinogenics was cancer. And if you are obese, then you are more likely to get type 2 diabetes. So this lesson today is cancer, obviously quite a difficult one. Lots of people are affected by it, and this is why AQF put this into the specification. They want people, you lot, to come up with a cure for cancer. And before you can do that, you have to know the science behind it. Obviously, we never really got taught this when I was younger, but now it's become such an issue that we need to teach you about it, so you can one of you lot can come up with a cure for it. Here's our challenge and aspire. Our challenge is to describe what cancer is and the risk factors involved. And then the aspire is to explain the difference between benign and malignant tumours. Every time we talk about cancer, we talk about tumours, and you need to know what those are. So normal cells will just reproduce and reproduce and reproduce at a certain rate. But a tumour is a mass of cells that grows, that's uncontrollable. So it will grow much, much quicker than, or it will multiply, the cells will divide much, much quicker than normal cells will divide. And that's what causes that tumour. Two types of tumour. There is a benign tumour, and these are tumours that will grow until there's no more room for it to do so. the tumour always stays within a membrane, and that's really key because then it stays in one place. And so they aren't usually that dangerous because they won't split off and go somewhere else. They will stay in one place. If you have a benign tumour, generally they will find it, they will cut it out, and they'll get all of it, and then it won't spread. The only issue with benign tumours is if you find them in your skull or in your brain. So brain tumours, if they are benign, then they are going to increase in size and eventually put pressure onto your brain, which is then dangerous. But generally, if you have a benign tumour anywhere else, it's much better. This one, which is the malignant tumour. So a malignant tumour is one that can spread to all the different parts of the body, and it does that by going in the bloodstream generally. Now, AQA have put this on exam questions lots of times. How do malignant tumours spread? So you need to remember it is by the bloodstream. And because they can travel in the bloodstream, they can form these secondary tumours in other parts of the body, which then makes it really difficult to get all of the tumour. So malignant tumours are more dangerous generally. They can be fatal, and they are cancers, so they are cancerous. So there is a Google quiz on those two because it's very important that you know the difference between them. There's a couple of multiple choice questions. It shouldn't take you too long. I'll give you 2 minutes. Go onto the Google quiz, try and answer those questions on malignant benign tumours. Okay, you got 1 more minute left. Right, so back to the challenge. So we now have described what cancer is, and we know there's 2 differences between a malignant and a benign tumour. So we'll look at the risk factors that are associated with cancer. Please remember these are risk factors. This doesn't, if you aren't doing these activities, it doesn't mean that you will not get cancer. It's just to reduce your chances of getting cancer. So first one, smoking, quite an obvious one. Linked to lung cancer, but it's also linked to mouth cancer, bowel cancer, stomach cancer, and cervical cancer. Basically, they put carcinogenics into the cigarettes, and as you inhale that, then it's more likely to affect your cells, make them grow rapidly, and cause tumours. So smoking is linked to those types of cancer. The other one which we looked at last lesson was obesity. So it's linked to bowel, liver, and kidney cancer. And we talk about it being the second most preventable cancer. The first, obviously, is smoking. UV exposure. So lots of people going on sunny holidays, they get a higher exposure of UV rays from the sun, and if they end up onto the skin without being protected, then they have more chance of getting skin cancer than people who don't, or people who use sunscreen will have less chance of getting that skin cancer. And viral infections is one that's sometimes overlooked, but viruses are linked to certain cancers. So I could relate this back to the HPV vaccination people get, or hepatitis B and hepatitis C will also increase the risk of getting liver cancer. So if you get those viruses, and if you've not had the vaccinations against them, then you're more likely to get liver cancer. Genetics. So sometimes inherited genes can be passed on from one person to the next, and that gene could code for a faulty gene could code for somebody to get cancer. So this is Angelina Jolie. She found that she had this BRCA gene, which has increased her chance of having breast and ovarian cancer. So she had surgery to get rid of those parts to stop her from getting cancer. So genetics are often linked to cancers as well. So your family history is really important. Right, so we have very quickly described what a cancer is and the risk factors, and hopefully now you know the difference between a benign and a malignant tumour. There is just this little graph here. I've seen these on exam questions. I thought we'd just go through it quickly. And this is a trend of what's happening now. This is two graphs on one. So let's have a look at this very quickly. Early stages of this, so 1971, cancer survival rates were really low. If you see that pink bar there, and you can see how that's increasing. So your chance of surviving cancer has got better and better as time's gone on. And then if you look at people being diagnosed with cancer, that's also increased. Okay, so why is that increased? A couple of reasons. So we talked about the fact that incidence of cancer have increased and the survival rates has, but this is because more people are living longer. So the longer you live, the more likely you are to get cancer because you are being exposed to those risk factors. You're becoming more obese or taking more UV rays in, etc., etc. And also, just as you get older, your body won't function the same. Those cells don't function the same. So you're more likely to start to develop cancer. So although it looks bad that more and more people are getting cancer, it might just be because they are living longer. Also, you've got to remember that some of these things are being diagnosed better earlier, which is good because that means then the survival rates will increase, and also that screening methods are better. So actually, survival rates are increasing because of improved treatment and improved knowledge through science about how cancer can be stopped. So Google quiz time. On your last couple of questions on the Google quiz form, get them completed. I'll give you 3 minutes to complete them. It's about risk factors. Off you go. Okay, so actually quite a quick lesson here. But if you want to make a revision card, these are the key bits that you need to know about. So tumours, again, can I just go through these revision cards? Any that you've done with me, you might just want to put like biology paper 1 on the top of them, because that will be the first exam you sit. And then when you're looking through and you're trying to work out which revision cards you need for which test, you can just pick up the ones that say biology paper 1 on, and they are all going to be sat probably mid-May generally, and they all come on biology paper 1 instead of the one that you sit in June. So it's just a good idea to get yourself organised. If I'm honest, I often get my students to pick a colour, and that is your biology paper 1 revision card colour, and that's the only ones you use. So you can just pick up the colours when you go into your before you're going into your exam and stuff. You can just have a look through those colours. But yeah, all the things that I've done with you are biology paper 1. If you write that on top of all of your revision cards you've made, just keeps them really organised for you. So this revision card, tumours are the fast growing groups of cells. There are 2 different types of tumours. There is a benign tumour which stays in one place because they're in a membrane. Again, remember, benign tumours generally easier to get rid of unless it's in your brain. And then you've got malignant tumours which can spread around the body, and they do that through the bloodstream. Really important that you remember it's bloodstream, and they can cause secondary cancers, which makes them really difficult to stop. And the risk factors for getting cancers are smoking, obesity, UV rays, genetics, and viral infections. And that's it, guys. If I'm honest with you, there is some for you to do on the Google form. It just gets you to know what those exam questions might look like. So have a go at those, print them off, write on them, hand them into your teacher, put them into your book. Off you go. Well done.